great basketball.
Defender to the basket, Jason Tatum.
We're covering pre and post game back on this channel.
How's it going, everybody? And welcome back into another episode of the Celtics Talk Weekly. I am your host, Robbie Tayan, and with me is joined my co-host, Justin Lowe. No Ian Angelo today. However, the show must go on. Guys, before we get started, I'm going to do some house cleaning things. You know the drill. Go follow us on our social media at Celtics Talk Weekly on Instagram. We're growing quickly there. Thanks to the support of you guys. Thank you so much. Also, subscribe to our YouTube channel. We have been killing it in the post-game shows recently, really getting back into it. And it's been a lot of fun. So go subscribe to us on YouTube. Pause the video, stop it, wherever you're listening to, go do that, come back. It would be much appreciated. And before we get started, we have a little sponsorship we would like to talk about, and that is Sharps. Sharps is an interesting app. We're new partnerships with them. And if you're a sports bettor, sports betting is now legal in Massachusetts. Online sports betting is now legal. It is March 10th, I believe. It will be legal. Go download the app Sharps. It is an app where you can link your DraftKings, your FanDuel, your even your daily fantasy apps, and you can essentially share them with your friends. See what other people are betting. You can get your winning percentage, your record over the last 10. If you're on a hot streak, it will show you're on a hot streak. It can show your top sport. You can go. It's a lot of fun. You can go follow me and Justin over there on Sharp. See what we're betting every day. See what we got, who we got, some player props. It's really cool. You can go talk to us on there. You can go follow me at Rob Celtics Talk Weekly. Guys, the link will be in our Instagram bio. And in the bio, the description down below on if you're watching this on YouTube. It would be a big help if you go do that. It's a lot of fun. We love the guys over there at Sharps. And yeah, let's jump into this podcast. Let's get into the week in review. Celtics 4-0 week. They started things off. They started things off against who? I have only 3 of them. They started things off against the Pistons. They won that 111-9, and then they took on the Philadelphia 76ers at home. They won that one 106-99. Some great defense, I feel like, Justin, this week, right? Not a whole lot of offense, but a lot of defense. D. White was your leading scorer there. That's a common trend. He had 19 against the Sixers. Then the Celtics took on the Hornets, and they took care of business yet again, 127-116. JT kind of been balling against the Hornets this year. He had 41 in that game. And then recently on Super Bowl Sunday, the Celtics took on the Grizzlies at home, very shorthanded. However, they still took care of business, 119-109. Derek White, yet again, 23 points in the Celtics win. Justin, give me the week ahead.
Yeah, so the week ahead, Celtics only have 2 games to wrap up the first half of the season before heading out to Utah for the All-Star break. Celtics Tuesday night, 7:30 p.m. on TNT. Celtics are in Milwaukee for a potential Eastern Conference Finals preview. Then second night of a back-to-back back home to close out the first half of the season against the Pistons. Once again, I feel like they always throw the Pistons in there before the All-Star break. So that game will be played on Wednesday, 7:30 on NBC Sports Boston at the TD Garden. If I'm Boston, I would expect to not see too much of the starters in either of these games. Banged up already. I think the Celtics are going to play this safe. With that win against the Grizzlies, they only need to win one of these next 2 games to clinch that first seed heading into the All-Star break. Obviously, after the All-Star break, they could lose the first seed, but for the most part, 1 out of 2 wins here. Again, splitting this back-to-back before the All-Star break can keep Boston in first place. But either way, the Hospital Celtics have been stepping up the past couple of games, past couple of weeks, I should really say. They've been doing phenomenal. Celtics are winners 6 of their last 7 games. So that is your week ahead. And then All-Star break in Utah. News broke this morning being Tuesday, that Jason Tatum will partake in the 3-point competition. Also, Jaylen Brown, Jason Tatum, you could see them in the All-Star game. JB is still up in the air for that game with a facial contusion, but he has not been ruled out yet, I don't believe. So there's still a chance to take a peek at Jason and Jaylen in the All-Star game. Jason, I believe, starting. And Jaylen, I'm not so sure if he's starting. With the Kyrie and KD trade, I don't know necessarily what they're doing, but that's the week ahead for the Boston Celtics in the rest of the association.
Yeah, so first off, big news coming out yesterday. Derek White, Eastern Conference Player of the Week. Congrats to Derek. He's a guy that we don't talk about a lot on the podcast, it feels like. I mean, since the trade, he kind of came into Boston, got thrown into the system. Offense was shaky at times. You're like, oh, wow, this guy is really great. He can do so much with the ball. And then other times he looked lost and stagnant. But this season, Justin, Derek White has just been on another level.
Yeah, and that's what's been so important for the Celtics, and a big reason as to why the Celtics got off to this huge start. Remember last year he came in February. That's when the Celtics they were already rolling before Derek White, and then White added to that. But you could tell he wasn't comfortable. You could tell that his shot wasn't there. Coming from San Antonio not a big 3-point shooting team, so Derek White didn't necessarily have to take as many 3-point shots. Obviously, coming into Boston's one of their strengths is their 3-point shooting, especially this season. He got that full off season in Boston. He was living out of a hotel with his wife, pregnant with their first child last year. So there was a lot going through D White's mind. He couldn't be focused. He couldn't stay focused. I mean, under the circumstances, he played great last year for us, but this year is just, he's taken his role. I mean, Rob, when we're healthy, he's a seventh man on this team. He's not a starting point guard, but since Smart's been out the last 9 games, Derek White has been coming up huge. Actually, I think he's had 3 double-doubles since Smart's been out. Yeah. So what he does, what he's able to do, and it's not just his scoring, just his ability to move, play both on and off ball. His defense is just so versatile, and that's an important thing to have. And then alongside that, Malcolm Brogdon's been in and out of the lineup the past couple of weeks with some injuries and some mishaps. But having 2 guys like that coming off of your bench, I mean, how could you not put these guys ahead of so many other teams?
Yeah, so let's put this into perspective for us, right? Derek White, who is our 7th man, over the last 10 games since he's gotten the starting point guard role, he's been averaging 19.5 points, 5 assists, 5 rebounds. Yeah. Obviously, Jaylen Brown going down since Brown got hurt against who was that Phoenix? Against Phoenix, I believe, right?
Yeah, or no, that was against Philly.
Philly,
second quarter.
That was against Philly. So I mean, even when Brown was in, he was putting up numbers. But since Philly, he's gone 20 or 33 and 23 in both double doubles. So he is really taking this point guard role, and he is thriving in Boston. This is our 7th man. To think that our real starting point guard has been out now for 11 games, 10 games, I think.
Right.
More than 10. That Toronto game, that was about 11, 12 games ago. So that puts things into perspective. I don't think there's another team in the NBA that can have their 7th man elevated to the starting point guard role or starting role and put up numbers like 19.5, 5.5, and 5. Those are all-star caliber numbers. Those are all-star caliber. I mean, Tyrese Halliburton, obviously his assist numbers are higher, much higher, but God, White shooting 50% from the floor, 47% from 3, 87 from the line. I mean, he has just absolutely been on a tear. He's averaging a steal a game, only a turnover, 1.3 turnovers. So, I mean, we can't stress it enough over here over at the Celtics Talk Weekly that Derek White has essentially been the X factor for the Celtics over the last 15 games or so. And if he keeps playing like this, I mean, this team's going to be nearly unbeatable if he's playing like this.
I know. Celtics are at their best when Derek White is at his best, right? And it also, I guess, it takes a lot of pressure off of Tatum and Brown's shoulders, I feel like, just to have a guy that can play like that and come out night in and night out. If he's not having a great night offensively, Derek White is giving you the business defensively. He's rebounding the basketball. He's assisting the basketball. He's moving the ball around, moving off ball. That is so important. And you got to give credit to Brad Stevens for building this team around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, when for years, that's kind of what all we've been asking for, right? Remember, Danny was looking for that 3rd star, whether it was Bradley Beal or Damian Lillard or, Kevin Durant. Celtics, Brad Stevens comes in. Jay tried to pair him with Jay Rich. Jay Rich was solid here, but getting Derek White in and Malcolm Brogdon as well. Guys that complement Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown's game, extending Al Horford, Robert Williams,
Yep.
Sam Hauser. I mean, I feel like Tatum and Hauser just have this ultimate connection when they're on the floor together.
Totally.
It's just, and I'm very happy. I know we're going to talk about the trade deadline a little bit later, but like, I'm so happy that Brad didn't do anything to really fluctuate this team. I like how he added without subtracting, and I like how we still have an open roster spot, and there's, different ways we can go about it with the buyout market, right? Like we added Mike Muscala, who fits in so well with this team. We kept Derek White, we kept Sam Hauser. Like that's a huge deal here in Boston.
Yeah, I mean, that was the name of the game. So let's hop into the trade deadline. Obviously, it was last week, but last Thursday, I believe, right? It was Thursday.
Yep.
Yeah. But let's talk about the headliners real quick, right? Just some house cleaning stuff. Obviously, KD to the Suns, Kyrie to the Mavs. Lakers acquired D'Lo, Russ to the Jazz, Mo Bamba to the Lakers. Those are some of the big ones. Obviously, Cam Reddish, a guy that I would have loved, ended up in Portland. And then Jakob Poeltl, who I would have also loved, ended up back in Toronto. Funny enough, he kind of pulls a Daniel Tice on us and goes back to his home team. But let's talk about Muscala, right? Because this is a guy, again, Brad Stevens, he works in silence. We do not know who Brad Stevens is going after. You hear these reports and you hear Jakob Poeltl and you hear Noah, right? You hear these names,
Mo
but
Bamba,
it's not,
right?
It's not really who he's going after.
It's kind of the opposite. Like, it's like, who hasn't he mentioned? Who hasn't been in the rumors?
So Muscala's played 2 games for us, averaging 11 points, only playing 16 minutes per game. He's getting us 11 points, 3 rebounds, an assist, a half a block. He's shooting 53% from the field, 46% from 3. If he can give us that for the rest of 11 points is a tough ask. That's a lot, right? We don't need 11 from Muscala. But if he can get us 16
even
minutes,
half of that.
Yeah. Oh, totally. And this is where it gets interesting. Is in the playoffs, you got to think. Last year, we really didn't have many people to go to. Think about it. If
Go ahead. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you're good. But think about it. If Brown and Tatum were off, one of those two were off, it was a really tough ask for the Celtics. Obviously, you had Smart doing his thing. He could get you 17, 18, but there's not really there wasn't a shooting threat on the court last year. So we saw a lot of teams just pack in the paint, and it made our life living hell. This year, we have Sam Hauser, who can knock down shots, Malcolm Brogdon, who's been knocking down shots, Mike Muscala, who's now a new addition who can knock down shots. You could potentially see Gallinari back in the lineup, maybe come playoff time, who can knock down shots. Al Horford can stretch the floor.
Even Luke Cornett can stretch the floor.
Absolutely. Luke Cornett can stretch the floor. White has become a knockdown shooter all of a sudden. Smart still streaky, but Smart doesn't have to. Smart is that guy that's going to attack the paint when it's open. And that is what makes the Celtics so dangerous. And I think the Mike Muscala trade fit what the Celtics and how the Celtics play perfectly, right? Not the headline free, the target, not a Jakob Poeltl. He's not averaging 12 rebounds, 5 blocks, but he's a guy who, when you call his number, he's going to stay ready and be ready. He's going to check into the game, and he will knock down big shots. And guess what? He is so fast with the ball. He averages his time per possession every time he catches it is the shortest in the league, 1.3 seconds per touch. That's crazy.
And you know what's even more crazy? Like, you just listed off our roster, and like the only person who can't shoot 3-pointers, at least yet, is Robert Williams. And that is totally okay because of how Robert Williams affects the game otherwise, right? Like, we saw him take a 3 in out of desperation in the Memphis game the other day, but like, he doesn't consistently shoot those. Like, it's very rare he even steps,
nor does he have
within 10 feet, right? But like, that's just how great the Celtics team is you can pull guys like Mike Muscala off the bench. Like, can you believe a guy like Blake Griffin or Mike Muscala or Peyton Pritchard is our 15th man on this roster? Like, that just goes to show you how deep this team really, really, really is. And we knew at the trade deadline that no move was going to really, define us, and no move was going to automatically make us a championship.
It wasn't going to move the
Right,
needle.
we knew it.
Yeah.
Obviously,
Yeah.
a Jakob Poeltl, a bigger name, maybe even better name in terms of, he can give it to both ends of the floor. But for what the Celtics were able to go out there and acquire, essentially adding without subtracting, which is something we preach all the time, especially you on the recent postgame shows, is very important. You gave up 2 future second-round picks to a Thunder team where Thunder, they're rebuilding and they have a fetish for picks. They love picks. And then on top of that, you gave them Justin Jackson. With all due respect, even when Jackson had his opportunities to play, we didn't really see anything out of him other than running up and down the basketball court. So I think getting Mike Muscala, that's another insurance big. That's another guy who can stretch you the floor. That's another guy who fills in not only injured an injured Robert Williams, but also fills in pretty much the exact type role Gallinari was supposed to play this season. Would be a stretch big who can really score the basketball, whether it's inside or outside. So I think that pickup was very underrated. And does it make us a title team? No, but there was no other. I think even a Jakob Poeltl wouldn't make us an automatic win the finals. And then on top of that, you have an open roster spot, and you have a chance to go out there and get a wing or another backup guard or whatever you can do.
Well, I mean, also, I've been thinking about it, right? And us Celtics fans get so blinded by the names, right? Mo Bamba would have been good. Mo Bamba would have been good. But think about Poeltl for a second. Does he really fit what we need? He's kind of we have Robert Williams, so we're essentially just getting another version of Robert Williams for our bench. Instead, what Stevens did, does Jakob Poeltl complement Jaylen Brown or Jason Tatum? That's the question. No, not really. He's not a lob threat. He's kind of a lingering in the paint, can run the pick and roll type of big. Can't really switch 1 through 5, but if you need him to, he can. One of those types of centers.
Right.
So, what does he do? He says, who is on the market that is cheap? 2 second-round picks and Justin Jackson. Man, you can have that every day. Second-round picks is just money at this point. At this point, day and age, those are just essentially, those picks really aren't turning out to be much. If you're a contender, those second-round picks aren't getting opportunity for the Celtics. Look at Davidson, for example. He's playing in Maine, right? Like, doesn't really get much opportunity. Although we could see him tonight against the Bucks, which is pretty funny enough. But so it is genius. He finds the fit. He says Brad Stevens knows ball. It's just comes down to that. I loved Danny Ainge. Danny Ainge obviously played in the NBA for the Celtics. He made a lot of great moves. He was the reason why we had rose the championship banner in 2008. He drafted Jaylen Brown, drafted Jason Tatum. Yeah, he drafted Smart and Rob Will. He drafted such a great core, such a great draft.
Acquired Al Horford.
Right, yeah. I can't hate Danny Ainge.
Right.
But what Danny Ainge lacked was cohesiveness. And Brad Stevens has found a way to gel together this team so well in just one short year. Let's date back to even last offseason, Justin. He brought in pieces, didn't work together. He knew they didn't work, mind you. He knew that. I think bringing those guys in, he kind of understood that, listen, this is a gamble. I don't think these pieces are going to work. But he brought in movable assets. Josh Richardson, Dennis Schroeder. Those guys you can move, and you can move pretty easily. So, I can't stress enough how amazing Brad Stevens has been. He gave up Aaron Nesmith, who's been balling in Indiana, but he just needed a new scene, right? He wasn't going to do it in Boston. Daniel Tice. Who I love. I love me some Danny Tice. He could we honestly might see him back in Beantown in the future. Right. But for Malcolm Brogdon in a first-round pick that we do not need, for Malcolm Brogdon, who's a potential 6th Man of the Year candidate. Oh my gosh, he just continues to do it every single time. Every time I doubt him, he proves me wrong. Brad has just been, even with the Missoula, oh my God, he's been nailing everything. He hasn't missed yet.
And then Malik Fitz, who is it? Malik Fitz Fitz, Nick Stauskas, and Matt Ryan, like those guys aren't, I don't even think any of those guys, maybe not Matt Ryan, I forget who the third person was, but none of those guys other than Tyson Neesmith are even on the Pacers anymore. So like the Celtics quite literally added without subtracting. Like,
Yeah.
I get it. Neesmith was my favorite Celtic, like just straight hustler, but straight baller. But he needed a fresh opportunity. He needed confidence, and now he's starting almost every game in Indiana, and he's putting up big numbers most nights, and that's exactly what he needed. And then you look at the loss of Daniel Tice. I think Daniel Tice was a great backup big for us, a great insurance big for us. But at the same time, when you look at it, like this Celtics team is just so well built right now, and if that meant getting Malcolm Brogdon, then that meant everything. And that means, and Brad, that was also, we been linked to Malcolm Brogdon since his Milwaukee days, but I don't think we expected that type of move right after the NBA Finals, right after during Summer League, like that. I think caught everybody off guard a little bit, because if you remember that time of year was when Jaylen Brown was thrown in with the Kevin Durant trade talk, so everybody was focused on that. And instead of trading Brown, we traded a bunch of end-of-bench players who racked up DNPs, coaches' decisions, and we got an all-star type player in Malcolm Brogdon, who's playing our sixth man this year. Like, that's unfriggin' believable.
Yeah, it really is. It's just like the Brad Stevens experiment, and I think he's here for a while. I really do. I think
who's that?
Brad. I really think he's our guy. I think he loves it. I think he loves it. I think when we made the best decision we made, it was Danny Ainge who elevated Brad, right? Or was that Wick?
It was Wick.
Wick.
I think
Wick.
I think Danny Ainge stepped down knowing that Brad would take the job. I think that is something like that.
Brad was a phenomenal head coach, right? But it's like he wasn't gonna move the needle for us, and I think he knew that. And he's such a great basketball mind that you can't lose Brad Stevens. If you lose a Brad Stevens, he is probably honestly one of the most valuable tools in a front office that anyone has. I mean, he's up there with Steve Kerr. He's up there with Pressey from the Thunder, right? That's the guy that's been drafting like crazy, right? I mean, he is having Brad Stevens you have an advantage. So Brad, this is the first time we've talked about Brad on the podcast, Justin. Brad's getting all this love. We've never talked about Brad, but shout out Brad.
Even the small things, like going out and picking up a vet, like memes aside, Rob, going out, picking up a vet like Blake Griffin, like he's not jumping over cars anymore.
Totally. Oh my God. Blake has been great.
But he's been a great locker room guy. He's been a guy where he racks up the coach's decisions one night, and then the next night he's starting playing 25 minutes, and he's fitting in so perfectly. He can stretch the floor. He can still play inside. He's physically,
you know what?
Takes charges. Like,
you know what's the best part about Blake too? I think he is so good with the coach's decisions to not play. He's so good. If you need him to start, he'll start for you. If you want 40 minutes from Blake will go out there and gut you out 40 minutes.
And that's a true vet. That's a true leader.
And that is exactly that. You lead by example, I think. And I think when you see a guy like Blake Griffin, especially with Blake Griffin's past, right? Like Blake was a all NBA first team player just 4 years ago. One of the best
players in the entire NBA.
Right? And now you see this guy sacrificing for essentially something much bigger than everyone, an NBA championship. An NBA championship is much bigger than Peyton Pritchard, much bigger than Jason Tatum, much bigger than Jaylen Brown, right? It's bigger than individual. And I think that's what this team's bought into. That makes this team so special. So yeah, for sure. Brad Stevens has done a phenomenal job.
I don't think Blake Griffin, everybody loves Blake, including fans, but I don't think that Blake Griffin is going to be remembered like he should on this team if we do end up winning a title. Like, if you remember, like back in 2008, like the guys like the vets like Sam Cassell and James Posey and Leon Poe, like those guys were so incredibly big. Even Scott Pollard, so big. And a big reason as to why the Celtics won the championship that year was because even though these guys that didn't really get many minutes on the court, they played their roles very well. They accepted their roles, and they knew what it was going to take to win an NBA title. And I feel like that's the same type of It's the same type of concept you're getting here with guys like Blake Griffin. Even throw in Sam Hauser, Rob. Like, this guy got a 3-year extension at the beginning of the year, came out hot. No Gallinari. He was expected to fill in some pretty big shoes this season. And did he ever? He honestly overexceeded in the first half of the season. Then the 2 to 3 week slump that he went through actually cut him out of the rotation for like 3 or 4 straight games, a healthy scratch. And then usually when you're that young of a player, that could be very discouraging for you. That could be very, very deflating for you. But he hasn't thrown out any excuses. He hasn't complained. He stayed focused. And look at now, he's going through an even better stretch right now than he did in the beginning of the season. And quite honestly, this one might matter a little bit most because now we're starting to get into late February, March. Then comes April, and then we're in the playoffs all of a sudden. Like, if Gallo doesn't come back, and even if Gallo comes back, I still think the Celtics go with Sam Hauser. Hauser's going to get rotational minutes in the playoffs this year, more than likely, at least compared to last year.
Absolutely.
Hauser's going to be a huge piece in a deep playoff run, especially if we don't go out and get another backup plan.
I think he's our 9th man. I think it's Smart, Brown, Tatum, Horford, Rob, and then 6-man Malcolm, White, Grant, then Hauser.
And then honestly, when you get that deep and you have to debate over who's your 10th man, that tells you how deep this is. Like, we have Mike Muscala, we have Luke Cornett, Blake Griffin, Peyton Pritchard. Like, those are amazing 10th mans you can have. Those arguably some of the best 10 mans in the entire NBA.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely.
So, just filling their roles really well. From, we started this about, Derek White, and we went to Malcolm Brogdon. Now we're talking about the other bench guys. Like, to see them go through this stretch together, especially beating teams like Philly and Memphis, those are huge games. Memphis, a contending team in the Western Conference, even though the West got pretty improved at the deadline, we know that the Grizzlies are going to be a team to watch.
Yeah. So
Josh said, I'm only concerned about the Celtics.
Yeah.
What did the Celtics do? They swept the season series, and on top of that, they beat them shorthanded, and guys like Hauser stepped up, Luke Cornett, Mike Muscala, guys that might not get a lot of playoff minutes, but they'll be ready when they get thrown in. That's huge.
Absolutely. And this is something now I want to. So if you follow Dan Greenberg, he works for Barstool, Stool Greeny on Twitter. He has been essentially this big advocate of something called the 40-20 rule. If you don't know what the 40-20 rule and you're listening to this is, it's 40 wins before you hit 20 losses.
Yeah.
Now, let's go down. So this is since 1986. NBA champions to win if they have or haven't hit the 40-20 mark. 86, yes. 87, yes. 88, yes. 90 or 89, yes. 90, yes. 91, yes. 92, yes. 93, yes. 94, yes. 95, no. 96, yes. 97, yes. 98, yes. 99, none, because there was a lockout. 2000, yes. 01, yes. 02, yes. 03, yes. 04, no. That was the Detroit Pistons year. 05, yes. 06, no. 07, yes. 08, yes. 09, yes. 10, yes. 11, yes. 12, none, because there was a lockout. 13, yes. 14, yes. 15, yes. 16, yes. 17, yes. 18, yes. 19, yes. 20, yes. 21, yes. 22, yes. So essentially speaking, if you want to win the NBA championship, you have to hit 40 wins before 20 losses. Let's look at the teams who have the opportunity to do that, right? There's about 3, maybe 4. Celtics, they did it. 41-16 best record in the league, right? At West, Nuggets did it. So right now speaking, the Nuggets and the Celtics are the 2 true only options to win the finals based off the 40-20 rule. Out East, again, though, Bucks are 1 win away. They're 39-17. They could do it tonight against Boston, right? So right now, I'm looking 3 teams who are legitimate title contenders. That is it. Celtics, Bucks, Nuggets. There is one more team, however, I think that enters this conversation. That's the Phoenix Suns. They're 4th seed sitting currently, and they just got a whole lot better with Kevin Durant. So I think obviously you got to see where Durant's health is. You got to see where the Suns finish the end of the season. There's a lot that plays in their depth. I mean, they just picked up Terrence Ross though, right? Oh no, Terrence Ross went to Dallas or Phoenix? Phoenix, right?
I'm not sure. I think
he went to Dallas.
No, it's Phoenix. He went to Phoenix.
He went to Phoenix. Okay, so yeah,
I think he went to Phoenix.
So that's some good depth there, right, Justin? But you know the deal. We always have one segment of podcast that's kind of different.
Right.
We're going contenders or pretenders. So I'm going to say the team. You're going to tell me if they're legitimate title contenders or like if they can make a run or if they're pretenders.
Yeah.
We're going to start off with the Eastern Conference here, the Boston Celtics.
I think they're contenders. I think the worst thing coming to them would be their availability, and that could be why you see the Celtics maybe start resting players soon. That maybe even if it's not a serious injury, that they might take the night off, because injuries suck in this league and you can't predict them. You can't control them. They happen. But the only thing I think that's beaten the Celtics is health in themselves. So I think they're contenders. I really do. I no bias involved. They're contenders.
Yeah, I agree. Totally. Best team, best record through 57 games. They deserve the contenders.
Best
spot.
depth, arguably.
Yeah, best depth. Bucks.
I think they're contenders for sure. But again, with them, they have to stay healthy as well. Can Chris Middleton stay healthy? That's going to be a big name. Can Jay Crowder stay healthy when he re-enters the lineup? That Crowder was a huge pickup for them, and I think it's going to be a great pickup for them. But at the same time, they gotta get under control with what's going on with Chris Middleton. But I think they're contenders for sure.
Yeah. Oh, totally. When you got Giannis, they're rolling. They've won. They're winners of their last 10. They've been really shaky on the road, though. They've been great at home. Really shaky on the road, which I think is interesting. All right. Next up, Sixers.
They can be contenders, but I'm going to say contenders, but the ability to be major pretenders, because we've seen Philly not succeed in the playoffs, so get to the big moments and then they crumble. They actually almost crumbled big time in the first round. Who was that against? Toronto. They almost blew a 3-0 lead. Yeah. But I don't know, man. After what I saw the other night, I know it was a regular season game in Philly against Philly, but I don't know. Things need to click, and I just don't know if Doc Rivers is that coach anymore that will get you over the edge. Yeah.
I think Philly are pretenders until they show me that they can act. They can prove me wrong, but until they do that, they get the pretender title. Embiid has not been to the Eastern Conference Finals in his 7-year stint with the Sixers.
I would say pretenders.
Yeah, they just don't deserve the contender title. They haven't shown me that they can be contenders, and that's that.
I think they have the ability to be contenders, but they just
have to show it. They have to show it. Yeah.
Right.
All right. Next up, I'm gonna go probably 2 more teams. Definitely Cleveland. Cleveland's up next.
Well, injuries are a big thing with them. I know that can't be my answer to everyone, but it is true with the Cleveland Cavaliers. I don't want to disrespectfully say pretenders, but I just don't see them overtaking Milwaukee or Boston. And in order to be a contender, you have to be able to take down the teams in front of you. I just don't see that happening with Cleveland this year. But I certainly think they're trending in the right direction, though, for sure.
So when I think a contender, I think can you be a top 4, Final 4 team in the NBA, right? Because then it's anyone's chance, right? It's anyone's game if you make that Final 4.
Right.
I think Cleveland's a contender. Because the reason I say this, if they can get hot at the right time, I think they have the best chance in the Eastern Conference to take down a Celtics or a Bucks in the second round. They're athletic. They got the shooting. They got the scoring. They got the playmaking. Their coach is great. They've been phenomenal on the road, which is important. 25-6 on the road is the best record in the Eastern Conference. They've been the best road team. Very impressive there. So I think they can be. I think they can make the Final Four. I would be very surprised if they take down the Celtics and the Bucks. That's just like a really tough ask.
Right.
Out of an Eastern Conference team, but I'd give them contenders, but I don't think they make the finals. I think they're contenders in an aspect where they can go on an Atlanta Hawks type run like we saw back to a couple years ago. Yeah.
Right.
All right, last team I think I'm going to do here for out east is the Miami Heat.
Pretenders. I just I don't know, man. I don't trust. I think they would be a good matchup for Milwaukee or Boston. I think they'll give them a run for their money, but I can't buy into the Miami Heat. They're certainly starting to pick things up, but I'm really not buying it. Even if they can get up to that 4th seed, which they are creeping up on compared to where they were a couple weeks ago, I don't trust it. I'm not high on the Miami Heat whatsoever. I actually had them right around where they are, 6th, 7th seed when with my early season predictions.
Yeah, I think the thing that speaks volume to me is they're 15-16 in conference, and that you're not going to win an NBA championship or making that of a run with that record. So let's head out west. West, it kind of gets crazy because you have the Warriors sitting at 9, the Lakers sitting at 13, although I'm not bringing up the Lakers' name in this game because they aren't contenders or pretenders. They are bad.
They're not even in the play-in.
Yeah. They're 6 games out of 500, so you have to be 500 to be able to play this game. So let's start Denver Nuggets. Get the top dog out of the way.
Contenders, but I will tell you, they've been and I know this team's different from previous years, but they've been one of the best regular season teams the past few years now, and they still have yet to prove in anything in the playoffs, even when they got to the Western Conference Finals. I say contenders, but I don't know if I trust them in the playoffs. But I think them and Phoenix are the ones who make it out. Them or Phoenix make it out.
Yeah, I mean, when you got Jokic, you're going to have a good chance. I think they lack that second star. Murray, I don't think is a second star. I think he's a third star on a championship team. I love what Aaron Gordon's been doing out there. Dude has been balling. I think they have great depth, great coaching. I like Mike Malone. Jeff Green. Oh, Jeff Green was great last night. I was watching the Nuggets. They were playing the Heat on the road. Green was great for them. KCP's been balling over there too. So they're contenders for sure. I think the Suns could stand in their way. But yeah, they're contenders. Now, this is crazy. The Grizzlies are 5 games back from the Nuggets. They were eventually they were tied at one point. Grizzlies are 5 games back right now. The luxury Denver must have, right? To be 5 games ahead. But Memphis, are they contenders? Are they pretenders?
Nah, pretenders, man. I just think they're just so cocky, and they're certainly on the come up, but I just think I see Denver beating them. I see Phoenix beating them. I see Golden State beating them. This is
bold, but I could see Sacramento taking them down.
Dude, that too. Like that's not really that bold though. Like that, I guess we can go in. First of all, I'm saying pretenders for Memphis. I'm gonna say pretenders for the Kings, but that's because of their lack of experience in the playoffs. They haven't made the playoffs in 20 years.
Yeah.
So,
I want to hold on. I want to give my input on the Grizzlies real quick.
Yeah, go for it.
My reason for the Grizzlies being pretenders, 2 things. They are 11-17 on the road.
That's big.
You got to win on the road if you want to be a contender. It's just like you're gonna have to steal one on the road if you're not the best team in the league, right? You're just gonna have to. And even still, like you're gonna have to win on the road because otherwise you have to win every game at home, and that's really not easy. Yeah, and then they're 16-16 in conference. 500 is pretty shaky. But let's go to Sacramento. What do you got to say about the Kings?
For a top 2 team, that's very shaky.
Yeah.
For a top 2 team in the West, Sacramento, I'm gonna go pretenders, but in their defense, they quite honestly weren't. I didn't expect them to be the 3 seed. I didn't expect them to be the 3 seed 60 games into the regular season. But I'm rooting for them in the playoffs. I think they can make a lot more noise than people expect. but there's other teams in the West that I think will be in the end. And that, unfortunately, one of those, I just don't think it's Sacramento. But who knows, dude? Sacramento's been proving everybody wrong recently. I would love for them to make like a Cinderella run, make a Atlanta Hawks type run, but
Yeah.
I just don't see them overtaking teams like Denver and Phoenix, and honestly, even the Warriors when Golden State, if they can figure their problems out.
Yeah. So the Kings are the Cleveland Cavaliers of the West to me. If the wheels are turning come playoff time and they get the right matchups, I think they can make a run to the Western Conference Finals. I don't think that's their ceiling, I think. So I guess I can't give them contenders, but like, are they a Final Four team? I think if that's what I'm putting as a contender, then I think they are. But the West is just a shit show right now. I mean,
It
I
is. Even though,
try not to swear, but like it's a shit
I know,
show.
but even though they've improved roster-wise on paper, it's still a major up in the air. Who's coming out? Who's getting in? Like, I just
Well, yeah,
I
because
think
so let's
this is
talk
most
about
fun.
this. So think about this, right? We're 3 teams in. We haven't mentioned the Suns, the Mavericks, the Clippers, the Pelicans, who were the 2 seed before they got injured. People don't forget about the Pelicans. The T-Wolves, they've been missing Cat all year. The Warriors are sitting at 9, Justin. 9.
That's
so
just,
it's like, gosh, so let's go. Let's talk about this, right? So Suns, contenders, right? They got to be contenders.
contenders, but they also have to stay healthy. That their health is going to hurt them. If anything hurts them, it's going to be their health.
Yeah, they're not.
But yeah, I'd say contenders for sure.
All right,
and they're starting to turn things on without KD as well.
Yeah,
before they got
they
KD.
were. Yeah.
The Mavericks. I would like to say contenders, but I still, even with Kyrie, think they need more help. I think they need more depth. So I'm gonna say pretenders. The ability to be contenders, but I'm gonna say pretenders right now.
My thing with Dallas, Luka and Kyrie is a tough ask to throw those 2 together in mid-season and make it work. You saw that at the end of the game.
Last play of the game last night?
Yes. Like, I think that there is a real power struggle there. I think Luka wants to incorporate Kyrie, but I think also at the same time, Kyrie kind of like doesn't want to take the shine from Luka. And I think they're going to be really confused. And I think this is a team that if they want it to work, I don't know if Kyrie signs back to Dallas. That's a whole nother conversation for a different day. But if they want this to work, I think they can be contenders for sure next season. Once they kind of really get an off season, they work things out. This year, I think they can make the Western Conference Finals if the things fall their way. But I don't see them beating teams like Phoenix, or I don't think they could take down Memphis. I don't think they could take down Denver. I just think their team's defenses are too good. I don't think Dallas is the best defense, and they've been terrible on the road, 12-18. Kind of the whole West has, honestly. All right, let's get to the Clippers here. We got 3 more teams, I think. There are 4 more teams here. We got the Clippers.
I'm going to say pretenders. And the reason I'm going to say pretenders is because they don't have any winning mentality on that team. Look, I get it. Paul George, Kawhi Leonard, great duo, injury prone. But they got to play games, dude. They don't play games. They load management too much. When you're trying to win, you need to play together. I don't know the exact stat, Rob, but I can confidently tell you that they are the least played together duo in the NBA. At least one of them.
Well, now that Kyrie and KD are split.
Dude, they barely play together. Like one's always out, the other's always out. When they do play together, they still lose games. Like they're not this unbeatable force that people thought they were going to be coming into the season. I mean, people really thought the West was going to run through the Clippers, and that is just that's just turned out horrible. I think that, they don't have a point guard right now. Reggie Jackson's gone. Who else is gone? They don't have Westbrook. They're talking about getting Westbrook, but they haven't gotten Westbrook. They just traded somebody who was on their bench, John Wall. He's gone too. Like I don't know the direction of this team, to be quite honest with you. And I don't think the Clippers are going to
They're the Sixers out west, I think.
really. I think they're worse than the Sixers out west. I just don't. I don't see. I don't see it happening for them.
It's this
I can tell you right
idea.
now. OKC definitely won that trade with Shy, man. Like Shy balling
Yeah.
consistently.
Well, I think that's like when you think about, it's like this idea that teams thought, right? You did see this, but it was about a trend like 2 years ago, right? You saw teams making these moves, right? Like they just threw Harden, Kyrie, and Durant, and we were like, okay, you can sit out regular season games. Come playoff time, you're gonna come in, and we're gonna win the finals. No, you see that with the Clippers. They are absolutely okay with Kawhi and Paul George and these guys missing regular season games. The playoffs is so dependent on, can you play together, and is there momentum? Are the wheels turning at the right time? And the Clippers never seem to be. I mean, it's kind of crazy. They were in the Western Conference Finals just 2 years ago without Kawhi. I think they're pretenders. Like I said, if I gave Philly pretenders, I have to give the Clippers pretenders. Until you can show me you can do it, you're not a contender. Next up, Justin, I have. Let's go. We'll go Pelicans. Is a healthy Pelicans team?
I can't answer that because you can't rely on healthiness.
Yeah.
I think though similar to a Cleveland and a Sacramento is when this team is hot and when they have momentum, they are one of the best teams in the league. They are one of the most fun teams in the league. So it's all really going to be right now. I'm going to say pretenders, but again, they really, especially with how open the West is, they really have contending aspirations and the potential to be contenders. But Zion's health has been a question throughout his 3 to 4 year career, or 2 to 3 year, however the hell long it's been. He's been injured most of it. I'll tell you that. It's hard to really base contenders or pretenders off of them because they're so wishy-washy. They're so on and off. I'm going to say pretenders.
I think they're the best team in the West when they're healthy.
That's the thing, though. When they're healthy, they're
exactly.
never healthy.
So this season, right now, they're not. I don't think they're contenders or pretenders. I just think they are kind of a super injury riddled team. But when they're healthy, the Pelicans, I think, are the best team in the West. All right, last one. We got the Warriors, because this is a big one. Because, at what point do you stop saying, oh, well, the Warriors will figure it out? And at what point do you start saying these guys aren't going to do it? Because they're essentially 500 through 60 games, which you got 22 games left to figure it out.
And they still can't win on the road. They're still struggling to win it on the road. And as of late, they're struggling.
And Curry just got hurt. So it's like, what? Like, are you going to be a playing team to make the finals? No, that doesn't happen. That's not going to work.
I'm going to say pretenders. And I get it, but I really do think this is the end of the dynasty. I think last year might have been their last hurrah.
Sucks it came at the expense of us.
I know, but at the same time, that look at it this way, man. Maybe it's time for our hurrah. Like it was the end of Golden State's, and I don't know, man. Again, with Golden State, you look at them on paper and it's like, wow, these guys are like, these names are just awesome, like Hall of Famers. This is like an all-star team. And then you look at what transpires on the court and it's like, wow, you wouldn't expect this.
I knew this season was going to be toast the second Draymond Green punched Jordan Poole.
Oh, yeah. And for people to say, oh, dude, like, no, like, it's like,
come on.
How could you not think that? Like, the players thought that too. The players knew. Yeah. Totally. And Draymond's expecting this max contract, and on top of that, the Warriors miserably failed to develop their young players. James Wiseman gone. They could have had LaMelo Ball. James Wiseman's gone. He's in friggin' Detroit, Rob. He's in Detroit. They're like a team full of centers. And Moses Moody, Jonathan Kuminga, like those guys have the ability to be really good players. They've had really good spurts at moments, but they can't be consistent. Like you would just think with Draymond, Clay, and Steph, they're becoming injury prone. Their careers are starting to come to an end, I would imagine, at least. Maybe not next year or the year after, but this dynasty is certainly on the line. You'd think you would want to develop your young players. Jordan Poole just chucks up shots. Like, I don't even think everybody's so impressed with Jordan Poole. I'm just meh. I don't think the Warriors are contenders whatsoever. And they can't win on the road. I hate it when people say, oh, it's Steph, Clay, and Draymond. They won on the road before. They know how to do it. Okay, those three know how to do it, but they need help. They need other guys to show up. It's a whole team thing. And if the other guys don't have that type of mentality and don't know how to navigate through that, it makes it very hard for Steph, Clay, and Draymond to proceed to the next round. And in the playoffs, like you said, you have to win road games, especially if you're coming in from the play-in tournament. You don't have home court advantage at all, no matter how far you go.
It's the same thing with Brooklyn last year. Remember when Brooklyn came in through play-in, people were like, well, it's Kyrie, it's KD, their generation, they're transcendent talents. No, you are a play-in team. Play-in teams do not make finals runs. They just don't. Warriors, here's my thing with Golden State. The pieces fell. The puzzle was perfect for them to win the championship last year. They had more experience than every team out west, right? In the first round, they ran into Denver. Denver was banged up. Jokic was having an MVP year. They didn't have anyone else, really. Golden State, they took care of business there. Second round, they ran into a Grizzlies team. Same thing. The talent was there, but the experience wasn't. And the Warriors were clicking. And importantly, they were healthy.
Right.
Third round, they ran into Dallas. Same thing. Dallas was a one-man crew. The West, the Suns were kind of supposed to be the team out West to do it. And the Suns miserably collapsed.
Right.
And so they took care of business against Dallas. And then they ran into a Boston team who was a piece away. And essentially, they ran into a young superstar who went up against a really, really tough matchup. And they collapsed. So I'm not discrediting the Warriors championship, but the pieces to win a championship, the pieces have to fall in the right order for some teams, and other teams are just too good. They win the championship. The pieces, the puzzle fell. It connected. And Golden State's done. Unless they go 17-5, 17 or 18-4, or 20-2. These last 20-something games, they don't have a chance. Curry's still hurt. He's going to be hurt for another 3-4 weeks. I'm pretty sure 2-3 weeks.
I don't even think he's in the All-Star game.
Yeah, he's not. So it's listen, Golden State, you guys were great, but I don't know. Maybe if I was Golden State, I would have gone all in on Durant. I would have traded Poole. I would have traded Wiseman. I would have traded Kuminga, and I would have traded 2 first-round picks to get Durant. And just go all in these next 2 years to try to three-peat it. But yeah. So that's that. Those are the contenders. Those are the pretenders. In the NBA, and then there's the Lakers, who are certain to 26 and 32.
I think the Thunder have a better chance than the Lakers, bro.
Yeah, totally. But that's kind of it. That's all we got for you guys today. Thank you so much for listening in. We know it's been a while since we filmed the podcast, but we are so back into the groove of things right now. The wheels are turning over here at Celtics Talk Weekly as the playoffs are approaching, and All-Star we got All-Star Week 2, which is kind of nice. It's like a little break for us as well. But we'll still be sending out content and producing stuff. So make sure to go follow us over on Instagram at Celtics Talk Weekly. And please, please, please subscribe over on the YouTube channel. We would love it. We love the support you guys have been showing. We're on the road to 1K on YouTube, and we would love it if you got a friend who likes the Celtics or likes podcasts or likes sports, share it, show them us. Any support we would love. And we just have been having so much fun with this recently. But that's it. Like I said, I'm Rob. Next to me, it's my boy Justin. And guys, thank you so much for listening in to this week's installment of Celtics Talk Weekly. And until next time, go C's.